Well, hi. Today is Friday, October 3rd, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. A reminder that tomorrow it's the Alzheimer's Walk taking place at Iowa Western Community College, and I'm going to be there. We're going to bring you a live webcast. You can see it on Facebook, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of old friends, meeting some new ones, and hopefully you, if you're there, make sure you stop by and say hello. Also, coming up today, well, first I should tell you that, we have an election going on in Council Bluffs. Yeah, you didn't know that, right? So the mayor's office is up for election and also two open seats on the Council Bluffs City Council. So having said that, we are going to bring you another candidate interview, this time with Mayor Matt Walsh. I had an opportunity to sit down with the mayor at the Hoff Center over at Pace yesterday and had a very candid conversation about where he feels the city is now, where it is headed, and also, some of the negativity that's out there online. And it doesn't matter if it's an election or if it's talking college football or what have you. That's just what people do when they get online. It just kind of everything descends to the lowest common denominator. So we talk about that too. All of that is coming up today on the show. Navigating the healthcare system is challenging, frustrating, and time-consuming for you and your family. That's where My Nurse Healthcare in Council Bluffs steps in. Nurse advocates providing one-on-one guidance and support every step of the way. When you have that dedicated nurse by your side, you're going to get the right care from the right provider at the right time. Visit mynursehealthcare.com. Technology should work for you, not against you. And at ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit ThinkSpaceIT.com. And if you're feeling stuck in uncertainty, conflict, or miscommunication, The Spiral of Accountability by Carol Horner is your guide to breaking free from the fog that clouds decision-making and relationships. Learn how to recognize negative cycles, shift your mindset, and build a culture of clarity and collaboration at work, at home, and in life. You can find a copy of Carol's book on her website, spiralofaccountability.com, and it is also available on Amazon. We made a trip over to Pace to talk with Council Bluffs Mayor Matt Walsh. Thank you much, sir, for taking some time. I know you got to be crazy busy. We're days away from a primary, and but still grateful that willingness to sit down and talk.
Well, great to see you, Todd. My job is incredibly busy anyhow, and so when I'm doing my job, um, in theory, I can't campaign. Now, some people see me talking about, we just did the state of the city. Even the nonpareil said, Mayor answers campaign questions. It wasn't a campaign event, but anyhow, it is an incredibly busy time. I work probably 60 hours a week just doing my regular job.
Right.
So when people come over to my house on Sunday morning and hang out and try to help me with a campaign, it throws the one day a week I have off. But we'll get through it, and hopefully we can keep doing great things for Council Bluffs.
You've been at the public service game for a while. You go back to your days on the city council and your terms as mayor. What keeps bringing you back election after election? Why is it that you want to stick in it?
Well, and really, my public service started long before that. I looked the other day because you kind of need that data when you're talking about election time. I've served on 23 different boards in Council Bluffs in various areas, really all in an effort to learn the background of what it takes to be a good mayor. And then I was a city councilman for 18 years, again, taking the time to learn not only the issues relative to the city of Council Bluffs, but the issues on a state level, on a county level. Um, and then this will be my 12th year as mayor. So um, I just love Council Bluffs. I've lived here my whole life. I'm fifth generation. My mother instilled a strong work ethic in me, and um, I like to manifest that in ways that help Council Bluffs, the community I'm from. And it's a good job because you can look back and take pride in things you helped come to fruition. And so that's kind of what drives me. And I talked a little bit last time. Council Bluffs is one of only two large communities in Iowa that have a strong mayor form of government where the mayor actually runs the day-to-day operations of the city. I'm the chief administrative official of the city of Council Bluffs. Other communities, Des Moines, Davenport, Sioux City, Dubuque, all have city managers who are professionally trained, most often with a master's degree in public administration, that run the city. The mayor does the ceremonial stuff, the ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, proclamation readings, but somebody else is the administrator of the city. Council Bluffs, that's me. And why I talked about it, started talking last year, I think it's really the wrong form of government for a city the size of Council Bluffs.
Okay.
You will potentially elect somebody on a popular vote who has no management experience, and Iowa does not have recall. And so you can get somebody in the office who literally doesn't know what they're doing, who holds that office for 4 years and no way to correct that, to right that ship if it starts to list. And so um, that also is a concern, and one of the reasons I'm running now. I've demonstrated I have the experience to run the city government of Council Bluffs, and the people running against me haven't demonstrated that, and so I'm concerned for the future of Council Bluffs. We need to figure out a better way of doing things.
From your vantage point, having been through so many election cycles, how does this one match up with the other ones?
Well, it's interesting to me. Over 30 years, my first election, I pounded in a thin piece of wood lath in people's front yards with a 5-pound hammer, and then took a staple gun and stapled my yard sign to one side or both sides of it.
Those.
Yeah. And and then technology took over. In those days, we did a lot of door knocking. Technology takes over. Now Facebook kind of drives the narrative. The local newspaper used to be very active and write articles, and you'd place ads, and they would question the candidates, and not so much in today's world. And so Facebook kind of becomes the reference source that people have relative to the candidates, and then the candidates literally can say anything unchecked on Facebook. And it can get really ugly. I've seen some great candidates that would have done great jobs for Council Bluffs just get demolished on Facebook, with mistruths and half lies, and so that's unfortunate, because then it makes really good people not want to run for the office. And so you ask how things have changed this year. The significant change is AI. And so candidates can literally ask ChatGPT a question and can get an answer that is spelled correctly and sounds logical, and they parrot the words somewhere and then discard it.
Well,
And so it's interesting.
this all just came up with, we just had a conference at Council Bluffs that just wrapped up, the
Yeah.
Heartland Developers Conference, and AI was a common theme through the whole thing. And the thing is with that, and I've experienced it, is if it can't find the answer, it'll make up something.
Yeah, yeah,
And I've had that happen. I did a park series
yeah.
on different parks in Council Bluffs, talked about Bayless Park and the history of Bayless Park. And I said, wow, this is really fascinating. And then talked about the statue of Abraham Lincoln that was in Bayless Park. And I went, wait a minute, was there ever a statue? And I asked it to verify it, and it said, oh, no, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
That's
So ChatGPT is not, it's not a foolproof way to be able to do research.
You know, Samuel Bayless gave Bayless Park to the county for a county courthouse, to the city for a county courthouse. And the local leadership decided to put it where it is today. And so Samuel Bayless sued the city of Council Bluffs all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court trying to get that piece of ground back, and ended up broke because he did it. But yeah, you know, we just had a mayoral forum, and people, I don't know if they, I don't think they had the questions ahead of time. I didn't have them ahead of time, but they had laptops and they were reading directly from their laptops, and they weren't trying to hide it. And so some even holding them up so they could read it more clearly. And so it's an interesting time. I don't know that voters are actually getting a good sense of who they're voting for, because I think the thoughts are somebody else's in some cases.
I was thinking about some of the different things I wanted to talk with you about today, and one of them was that atmosphere that's out there online.
Yeah.
And we have seen extreme examples of the results that can happen
Yeah.
here recently. And we're starting to see some in leadership roles and in elected offices pushing back on that a little bit and saying, no, wait a minute. We need to try to be better. The governor of Utah is
Yeah,
one, and
yeah.
you're seeing him reach out to Democratic governors in some of the different states. Um, where are you at with the? You talked a little bit about that negativity that's out there online, because oftentimes it's not based in fact; it's based in emotions,
Yeah.
and emotions don't always tell even an accurate story or a full story.
Yeah. It's I am not a Facebook person, so I don't spend a lot of time on social media. In the narrative that occurs, we were laughing today. Some guy was trying to insult me, and he says, "I can't tell by looking at him if that's Matt Walsh or Bruce Willis." I said, "Well, I'll take Bruce Willis any day of the week." Um, but you know, there's just that undercurrent of keyboard warriors that just want to clown and belittle, and that's bad enough. And then candidates just write stuff that oftentimes isn't based in any sense of truth. I saw one today, one of the candidates saying that I turn in mileage and on the city car that I drive. Well, I don't do that. It's not my car. It's the city's car. But they're putting that narrative out there that I use the car for my own personal purposes and then turn in mileage on my own personal time. And I actually do drive the car for personal use, and I get I have to turn my mileage in to the city on a regular basis. In fact, when we brought it up, because that narrative was on Facebook today, my assistant Allie said, "I need your mileage." So it's
Right.
it's unfortunate because, like I say, really good potential candidates just don't want to expose themselves, their business, their families to that narrative. And oftentimes when these people write negative stuff, people that know the truth don't want to contradict it, because they don't want to get down in the mud with the people. And I don't. I'm not a negative campaigner. I don't put down stuff that um, in many cases is factual that I know, because I think I've done a good enough job. I'm going to work on my own uh, wins and my own reputation and my own success for Council Bluffs. And so it's a struggle. It something does need to change, but I don't know how you change it, because that social media is kind of taken over a lot of people's lives.
It's also can distract from the true
Yeah,
things that
yeah,
need to be
yeah.
discussed, and wanted to talk to you about those today.
Well,
Because
and frankly, in some cases in this campaign, some of the hurtful things that are said about the city of Council Bluffs aren't directed at me, but at the city in general about things that great employees are doing above and beyond the call of duty, and their efforts are being trashed along Facebook as a way to get back at me. And then if I were not to win the election, that person were, now they have to step in and form a relationship with the people that in their narrative they've been trashing. And so it's not very smart, I don't think, on the part of candidates either to aggressively make misstatements.
Well, a couple of things from differing sides here. One, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the accomplishments that you feel strongly about since you have been in that mayor's office, and then also some of the challenges that Council Bluffs is facing. Because yeah, we've got them,
Yeah.
I
Every
talk about
city
this all
does.
the time. Yeah, everybody has them, but that's not an excuse for
Yeah,
not doing
yeah,
something
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the accomplishments we've had, maybe the biggest one is repairing the city's levee system. After Katrina in 2005, the federal government said all cities protected by flood levees had to recertify their flood levee or have FEMA incorporate them into a floodplain. What that would mean for Council Bluffs is everybody living west of 8th Street who had a mortgage would have to buy flood insurance. Now that in and of itself sounds expensive, but FEMA, because they've had so many disasters, FEMA used to subsidize flood insurance. They no longer do that. And so flood insurance has got prohibitively expensive. In some cases, the flood insurance premiums would be more than people's mortgages, virtually rendering their
Wow.
homes valueless. And so the repairs of the flood levee were estimated about 54 million. They had created a program when the Iowa River flooded and flooded Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, the state flood mitigation program, which they create a baseline of the sales tax. The city collects 5% on sales tax, and any growth in the sales tax on the state's, I'm going to take that back. I think I said the state collects 5%, the city collects 1%,
Okay.
school district 1, total of 7. So the state collects 5%. We established the baseline in 2013, which was the year prior to me becoming mayor. We did this within 2 months after becoming mayor. Went to Des Moines and said we should also be afforded that same accommodation. So 60% of the money above the baseline now can be used for flood mitigation. So we've almost completely rebuilt our flood levees. We're doing the last phase now. It should be done by next year. But the majority of our population in West Broadway, now the levees have been recertified. Um, and so those people won't have to buy flood insurance. And so that saved huge amounts of money in flood insurance premiums, and then saved huge amounts of property tax money because we didn't have to pay for it with property tax. 54 million we would have had to pay in property tax had I not got this grant. We rebuilt West Broadway, first time since the 40s, completely reconstructed it, put in storm sewers. A lot of people didn't realize West Broadway didn't have storm sewers. We had some sewer inlets on main streets going north and south, but east and west, no storm sewers. We got $20 million from the state of Iowa because Broadway used to be Highway 6. It was not a city street, and that's why it didn't have storm sewers. It was a highway. In exchange for the city taking over the maintenance, they gave us 20 million, which we used to rebuild it. We got another roughly 15 million from the Iowa West Foundation to put up fancy lights and make the street look nice. Buried all the overhead electrical wires. So that's a big win. We also rebuilt the South Expressway. We have remodeled 7 city parks that had been ignored for decades. We built 2 new city parks. Property taxes have stayed pretty stable. People see their assessed value go up, and they assume their property taxes are going up. And Iowa has a formula called the rollback, that if your valuation goes up, the percentage of your home that's taxable goes down. And so on my personal property taxes this year, I calculated went up 1.5%, while the cost of living went up 2.5%. So I think that's acceptable. The year before, most people's city property, I'm talking city property tax, not county or school district, but they've been doing a good job of controlling their costs too, I think. But the year before that, it actually went down slightly. It used to be in 2018, I think we paid about $1,163 per 100,000 in taxable value. Today we pay $860. But some people's houses, everybody's house, probably gone up in value since 2018. The other thing we and maybe this delves in a little bit to things we could improve, but our crime statistics are down, and I think there's been some misinformation put out by the candidates to that effect. Our calls for service were a little over 54,000 back in 2021, and they're down to 48,000. So the 12% reduction in calls for service. Property crimes, which are theft, and we just talked about an issue, but are down 27%. Crimes against persons, which are assaults and kidnappings, which you don't have many kidnappings, we don't have many murders, but those went up 18 incidences. And so crime's pretty good, and that's from 2021. And the reason I say that is that was in the height of COVID, when everybody was staying home, and burglars were working remotely in those days from home. Jokingly say that,
Right.
but people were home, and so crime was down in that particular year because criminals couldn't seize on an opportunity where the homeowner wasn't at home. And
Yeah, a
so
lot of things were down.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, there was
travel was down.
vehicle deaths were down
Yeah,
in the state of
road
Iowa
use
for us.
tax was down. So if we're down from 2021, it's significant. And it's not a 1-year dip, it's been a steady decline. And so we're pretty proud of that. We have a great police department, we have a great fire department, and because we have those, people's property and casualty insurance are less in Council Bluffs than other places. We got a fire department that's an OSI rated 1. There's only 387, I think, in the entire nation, and Council Bluffs is one of them. And it's that's an insurance rating, and so because we're a 1, we pay less property and casualty insurance, which is significant for residential owners. It's real important for commercial owners. And you know, if you've got a $3-4 million building, and you can pay a significantly less amount of property insurance. Housing's an issue. We took COVID money. We didn't just spend it. We strategize to incentivize housing. We ask our partners at Iowa West Foundation to match our money so that we could give incentives to housing developers. And in a time where nobody's building housing currently in Council Bluffs, we have about 800 housing units under construction. The majority multifamily, which is important, and not just affordable at market rate in all ranges across the board. About 800 under construction, and we have another 1,200 that have been approved by the council, soon to be under construction. They just had an article in a magazine, and I should be able to tell you what magazine, but I don't remember it. I read the article. Omaha was rated 15th in the country for most housing starts, multifamily and owner occupied, with 3,000. And so little old Council Bluffs is right there with almost 3,000, 2,500. So we're doing really well in housing. We've got a couple subdivisions that have recently been approved for owner occupied. The Whispering Oaks subdivision continues to build out, and it's been real successful. Jerry Torzon, that's his project, and he's the former president of MOBA, Metro Omaha Builders Association. He says it's been his most successful project. So we've got a lot of housing. Our population's not growing. And so people say, well, how can that be? That seems counterintuitive, but the number of people living in the home continues to go down. And so, even if it's I think about 2.36 people today live in a home, and a few years ago it was 4.6. Well, that doesn't sound like a lot when you take it by 27,000
Oh, it
households.
sounds like a lot to me.
Yeah, it adds up.
Yeah,
So
you're talking about a lot of times young people not moving out as early as
Yeah.
they probably did 20 or 30 years ago. So it's a lot of these housing starts you're talking about is just moving residents around that are already here.
Yeah.
And then the next step from that is how do we create opportunities for folks to move here
Right.
from out of town?
Yeah. Yeah, the statistic I saw the other day is the average age of a first-time home buyer today is 34 years old. And so we need to get in multifamily housing because that's what young people want. And if we don't get them when they move into their first apartment, if they go to Omaha, they stay in Omaha. And so we lose them. And so we've got a really unhealthy skew in our age distribution. We've got a lot of older people my age. We don't have a lot of childbearing adults, and subsequently, we don't have a lot of kids. And I was talking to the school superintendent yesterday, and they're losing about 100 kids a year, and they're facing closing schools because they don't have enough students to fill the schools. But that's not a good scenario for the future of Council Bluffs. We need workforce, and so we should have more residents who are between 20 and 45 that have kids that are helping grow our population. And the other thing I hear people say is, I like Council Bluffs just the way it is. I don't want to see it grow. I want to see it stay the same. And that's a recipe for failure.
I can speak directly to that because my tiny little hometown, which is on a much smaller scale, had that same philosophy and members of my own family saying those words.
Yeah.
And that town has now shrunk by 2/3. Houses are just dilapidated up and down the main street through town. It's a tiny
Yeah.
town. And they're facing being unincorporated now because there's just not anybody there anymore. And you think it can't happen to something the size of Council Bluffs. Yeah, if you don't do something about it, it sure can.
And the one tried and true way to keep property taxes manageable is to grow the property tax base. If more people are contributing towards the cost of running the city, and the city's pretty much like a homeowner association, there are a lot of city costs that we pool together and then everybody contributes to pay for them. And if we don't grow the city, as those costs go up, because costs do go up, they never go down. If we restrict the growth, there's the same finite group of people paying those costs have to pay more and more and more. So why not grow the community and have more people contribute? For the first time in my life, Council Bluffs now has become a net importer of labor. And I think that's probably because we don't have enough work age population in the community, but we have about 20,000 people a day that come from somewhere else to work in Council Bluffs. And we send about 18,000 residents a day from Council Bluffs to work somewhere else. The vast majority would be to Omaha, but Southwest Iowa. And we have about 12,000 people that live and work in Council Bluffs. And so people say, well, I don't want Omaha people moving here. They're in our town during the bulk of their waking hours working. And so why not have them work here? I think only about 20% of our school teachers live in Council Bluffs. The rest live in Omaha, and our hospital workers, about 40% live in Council Bluffs and 60% live in Omaha. Now, that in and of itself sounds bad because those people could own properties and be paying property tax and help contribute into the community. What even makes it worse, if you're an employer, if you're a hospital and you hire a nurse that lives in West Omaha and every day she drives by 2 or 3 hospitals and sees them and thinks to herself, why am I driving all the way over to Council Bluffs? And invariably this happens. They then apply at a work place closer to them, and the hospital is in a revolving door of always hiring people. A lot of state and federal funding is also based on population, road use tax, community development block grants, um, federal HUD money. It's all population driven. And so if we have a larger population, that's in and of itself tax relief coming from the federal government. So we need to figure out how we grow our population. We're really restricted geographically. We can't grow to the west because of the river. We can't grow to the north because of the elevation change of the bluffs. And really going east is tough, excuse my French, but if we build to the east, those rolling hills, every time you go up a hill, you need to have a sewer pump to pump the sewage up because our sewers gravity flow towards the river. And so every time you go up a hill, if you drive on the way to Trainer, up, down, every one of them takes a multi-million-dollar pump station to pump the raw sewage up so that it can go down. And then the next hill, you got to pump it up so it can go down. And so not easy developing in Council Bluffs, and we got to take our opportunities where we can.
And well, inside the existing city limits, we got a topography
Yeah.
that you go up into the older neighborhoods that are up into the hills, and I've experienced that. I used to live
Yeah.
up there. I had a house up there just off Franklin Avenue, and my driveway was sloped like this, and it's a unique situation here. Yeah, there's a few other places around that are like that, but you look at some of the more growing communities. Ankeny jumps right out of my head, but that's pretty flat.
Well, and it's easy to put in sewer. I mean, that's why Omaha's so successful. It's kind of a shallow bowl, and like I say, everything gravity flows, and so you put a main sewer trunk down the middle, and then you put branches in, and it's really not that expensive to branch out. We have some geographical struggles we need to deal with. On the negative side, we've got a homeless problem, probably greater than most communities in Iowa. And the reason is that we are the largest metropolitan area in the state of Iowa. We are close proximity to Omaha, much larger population. People with mental health issues get their services in an urban area, in a city. And so these small town Iowans, if they have somebody that has an issue, they have to come to town to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And frankly, we don't have enough staffing. And so they can wait sometimes 7 months. And by the time they get here, they've lost focus and they've lost purpose and they've drifted into homelessness. And so we're working with those people. The police have a homeless outreach program, and embedded in that program are mental health experts from Jenny Edmondson Hospital. And we sit down with the homeless people, try to get them signed up for Medicaid, try to get them signed up for drug programs, trying to get them to see mental health counselors. But in order for that to be successful, they need to want to help themselves. And so that isn't always the case. The other thing the homeless outreach program does is the homeless have kind of created their own community. And there's people that are homeless that are good people and don't want to take advantage of anyone else. But like every community, there are people that prey on those people that commit petty theft crimes, that sell drugs and sometimes traffic homeless individuals. And so the fact that we're in the community, we're building trust with the homeless community allows us to learn who those bad actors are, and so we can address that too.
I see this particular issue really in two forms. That we have homelessness as, lack of a better way of putting it, as an institution, that it's a homelessness situation.
Yeah.
And then separately, you have people who are homeless. And each needs to be addressed, but in different ways. But if you only address one side without the other,
Yeah.
then nothing is really happening. And I'm not smart enough to know what the answer is, but I do know that there are some folks out there that are doing some pretty good work.
Yeah. And we're trying to set up a homeless court program. They did it in drug court and it was pretty successful. Um, a lot of these homeless have co-occurring uh, mobilities that involve mental health and drug use, and so we need to get them off the drugs. But typically, when they're arrested, they're simple misdemeanors, and the judge will kick them loose in a day. Or we need to work with our legal department, our county attorney, our judges. In some cases, multiple offenders get sentenced to real jail time. And when I say real jail time, I'm not talking years, but I'm talking long enough to sober up. And then when they do sober up, we can't just kick them out of the jail in the middle of the night and put them on the street.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
We have to have some kind of support system set up for them so that they can continue to get sober. It's really, to handle it right, hugely expensive. We don't use any taxpayer dollars towards resolving homeless issues other than what we do for our police officers, other than what we do for cleaning up some areas. We rely heavily on our nonprofits. Um, I have mixed feelings about spending a lot of tax dollars on it. But the aesthetics behind homelessness aren't attractive to people. They're appear different, and so people are uncomfortable around the homeless population. Um, they, as I say, they don't cause a lot of problems. There's been this misnomer that they're um, causing crime rates to go up. We're just not seeing that, um, but when they walk around town and look homeless and they're in neighborhoods and wandering aimlessly, people feel uncomfortable. And
Well,
so,
people are also uncomfortable oftentimes just talking about it and having an honest
yeah,
conversation
yeah,
about it because you get too entrenched into different sides, and then it ceases to be about finding a solution. It's more about just proving the other side wrong.
yeah,
And again, you go back to social media.
yeah,
I think that that's a big part of it. And, ironically, this is released on social media.
yeah, yeah,
So, but I'm trying to reverse that trend,
yeah,
is the idea. And having honest conversations like we're having right now about that, it's not always pretty.
yeah,
But you still need to talk about it.
yeah. And there's certainly room for improvement. Omaha's talking about banning camping. I've reached out to Omaha City Council people. We need to be part of that narrative. If they ban and arrest people for outdoor camping, that's going to push people into Council Bluffs. And so that's not a viable solution for anybody to keep pushing people back and forth across the river. Um, we need to be part of that narrative, and we will be.
Well, what are some of the other issues that you see right now, that, because it's coming out, everybody,
yeah,
especially in an
yeah,
election
yeah,
cycle, that the volume gets turned up
yeah.
on everything. So what else do you see right now are things that
Well,
moving
the
forward?
two top ones are housing and homelessness that I see that are big narratives. They, um, I think we're doing pretty well economic development wise. We will be making an announcement in October of a large data center that actually will do capital investment in the neighborhood of $12 billion. Those are numbers that we've never talked about. The developer, it's not my statement, so don't fact check me on this, but this is out on the Iowa Western property at Keensville and Interstate 80. In a letter the other day, he said it was second largest real estate transaction in the history of Iowa. And we had one down in Mills County. We worked 2 years on, put lots of employee time into. We thought we had a deal. Actually, I think part of the reason it didn't go through is there was administrative changes, and in the Biden administration had some energy grants that would have helped make their project viable. The Trump administration canceled those grants, and so that was a big piece of their project. But that fell apart. That was discouraging because we put at least 2 years into that project, so they don't all happen. We annexed into Mills County, which we'd never done before, and it looked like a great project that won't take place. We're dealing with many others in the area. It I think will be a year economic development wise like Council Bluffs has never seen before, and so I'm a 26-year commercial banker that can talk the language of developers, and it gives them a comfort level when local government official knows exactly what they're talking about, knows the language of development, knows the in and outs. And so Paula Hazelwood with Advanced Southwest Iowa does economic development for the city, but she and I work hand in hand on every project. We got a couple new ones we're working on now that we hope one maybe will come out to the Council Bluffs Airport. And so things look really good on that front. And all that, again, broadens the tax base, and that's the key to helping control growth in people's property taxes, which I think is always the big concern every year. My taxes are going up. I tell the story, true story, and I'd heard the other day that the federal government's looking at these fire apparatus manufacturers. Back maybe 5 years ago, the city bought a fire truck, $890,000. It takes them about a year to build. They have a chassis, but you tell them what you want on as far as equipment built onto the chassis, and there are people in line in front of you. And so by the time they get it built and get it delivered, it's about a year. 890,000. Less than 6 months later, we had a big rainstorm, and 911 said, "Don't go Broadway, it's backed up, go 2nd Avenue." And there's a low spot about 21st and 2nd, and the fire truck went in the low spot, sucked water in the manifold, and shut down. And the driver hit the electronic start, and it looked like a Marvel movie. It was shooting sparks, and everything shorted out. The vehicle was totaled. We got about $700,000 depreciated value after 6 months. So we lose $190,000 in value on the truck, order a new one. This is 16 months after paying $890. We order the same truck, $1.5 million in 6 months or 16 months, $1.5 million, a year to build it, and we drove it for 6 months, 18 months. So it takes them a year to build it. We go pick it up. So now we're at 30 months, a year to build it. We drove it for 6 months, a year to build a new one, 30 months. And when they pick it up, the salesman says, "Wow, did you guys get a deal on that?" Today, that vehicle sells for $2.25 million.
And it was 800,000.
890,000 to 2.25 million in 30 months. That's how much it's gone up. And we're looking at our budgeting for this year, and we're seeing that across the board this year. And so those things are very expensive. labor goes up. The city does labor, buys equipment, and pays utilities. That's primarily what our expenses are, and all those things are going up. And I used to say we're not purchasing milk and eggs, we're paying for large ticket items, but milk and eggs went up pretty good too, so that kind of ruined that narrative. But it's expensive to run the city, and so we need to control costs, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. I told you it's about 800, I think, $60 per year per $100,000 of valuation for city property taxes. Doesn't include county, doesn't include schools. The number then equates to $69.95 per month if you were paying it on a monthly basis per 100,000. And so for me, I think I live in a $400,000 house. It wasn't 400 when I bought it, but it's appreciated to that. And I pay about $255 per month for $400,000 home. My property insurance is $205 a month, and that's something I hope I never use. But
Right.
so I think that, and if you think about what you pay for your cell phone or your internet or many other things in life, $255 a month for 400,000 is not a lot. I think the average home in Council Bluffs today is about 186,000. And so you'd be paying, I don't want to do the math and be wrong, but again, it's $69 per 100,000 a month. You can take your home and figure out what you're paying in city taxes. Probably not a bad homeowner's payment and then when you figure, because we're an OSI rated 1 fire department and because we got such a great police department, your property and casualty insurance is down, and so you're keeping the money here rather than paying it to some insurance company. So I know that's a convoluted, long answer, but
Well, but it's why, I mean, you've been in the job for a long time. You understand all of these different pieces that I think that a lot of people, I can tell you that I did. It's not anything I think about.
Yeah.
Of all of the different things that go into it, and the amount of inflation that's happened on a fire truck is
It's stunning.
right. And I'm sure it's not just inflation, it's the cost of everything. It's the cost of fuel to be able to get the goods to the parts and build the truck, and everything is just skyrocketed.
And people use the opportunity of the collapse of the supply chain to justify significant pricing increases that really aren't a factor today, but were at one time. Another story, I had a guy write me the other day and says, you built Bass Pro and let Bass Pro operate out of there for free. What are you thinking? Well, there's nothing further from the truth on that. First of all, Iowa West Foundation paid for Bass Pro and paid for related interest costs. They gave us an $18 million grant. Bass Pro does pay rent. It's based on a percentage of their sales. Last year, they paid about $630,000, and the property taxes on Bass Pro were about $611,000. So we made $19,000 net, and that in and of itself doesn't sound like a great deal for the city, but then you got to realize that the city collects 41.5% of the property taxes. And so we pick up another 275,000 in property taxes off that. And so we end up doing just under 300,000 in revenue off Bass Pro. And so it's interesting misinformation that gets out there on social media, and everybody accepts this fact.
Well, I'm grateful, Mr. Mayor, that you took some time to sit down and talk. I know that regardless of the result of the election, you are to be commended for your service to the community. And I've said that, from the very beginning, that anybody that wants to put their neck out there the way that you have continually done and let folks take a swing at it, while to be able to work for the city, that in itself, I thank you for.
And it is what America's about. I mean, people say it's unfair that people take a swing at you. Well, that's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
And if that is how people want to operate, more power to them. And I'm a big boy, I can take it. But I just want to remind people that there's a primary next Tuesday.
Mhm.
All candidates are in it. I think there's some people who believe that the primary will decide who runs against me. I'm part of the primary. I need votes as well as
Right.
the other candidates who have put themselves out there, and they because they've made that effort, I think they deserve at least the voters to come out and cast a vote. So,
Well, I'm hopeful that we get a good turnout on Tuesday. I know historically primaries in a non-national election year are really low voter
Yeah,
turnout,
yeah.
but I don't think it's going to be the case this
Yeah.
year. I think that people will be out
Yeah.
casting votes, and I encourage you to get out there and do that too.
Thank you
Matt
so
Walsh,
much for your
thank you
time.
very
I've heard a lot of people have already voted, early voting, absentee. That has been taking place in Council Bluffs, and the polls will be open on October 7th. That is coming up on Tuesday. So get on out, have your voice heard. Yes, it's just a primary, but it's very important because it's going to decide which 2 mayoral candidates and which 4 city council candidates move forward into the general election coming up in November. So please get on out and vote on October 7th. Just Sue Creative is here to help you build your business with website design, search engine optimization, content creation, marketing, everything you need to take your company to the next level. Sue Pitts has a passion for small businesses, helping them thrive in this digital world. What do you need to do? Go to her website, justsuecreative.com. There you are going to see a free consultation button. Click on it. Pick out a time that works for you, and then see what Sue can do for your business. JustSueCreative.com. And a big thank you to Bryce Taylor with GLI Insurance Group. He is our sponsor when we go out and do restaurant highlights. We used to call them reviews, but they're more of a highlight because we know what we're going to get when we get there, and we just usually enjoy a really good breakfast or lunch and tell you all about it. Our last one was at Third Base, where I nearly burnt my mouth on some fresh roasted chicken, but it was certainly good. And we'll see where we go for the next one. That's going to be coming up very soon. And fortunately, we haven't made another bet, so I don't have to wear that Iowa State shirt again. GLI Insurance Group is a locally and family-owned independent insurance group. It's been helping people find the best possible plan for them for over a decade. You'll find Bryce's office just up the road from Council Bluffs in Crescent. So stop in, and also don't forget to join his Facebook group, the Council Bluffs Food Lovers page. Thank you again, Mayor Matt Walsh, for being our guest today on the show. And we have the primary election coming up on October 7th, and we'll see if we can't get the candidates that move through into the general election. We'll see if we can't have some of them on yet again on the program sometime during the month of October. That wraps up today's show. My name's Todd Studer. Have a great weekend.